Hey there folks, Scottsdale Travel Chick Sidekick here to tell you about our trip to the Rocky Mountain National Park outside Denver, Colorado. Rocky Mountain National Park is about an hour and a half or 75-mile drive northwest of Denver, and it's possible to do the park in a long day trip from either Denver or Boulder. The nearest towns to the park itself are Estes Park to the east and Ground Lake to the west. For the day trip itinerary we'll cover here, you'll start from the east entrance near Estes Park. For this video, we are going to cover a day trip itinerary moving from east to west through the park. We'll cover details of hiking options from the most popular trailhead in the park, and then other sights you'll see as you drive through the park. Okay, let's get going. As I mentioned, you'll start from the east entrance, and the first thing you'll come to will be the Beaver Meadows Visitor Center. Take a stop here to check for the latest weather forecasts and trail updates, and to pick up a map if you need one. From here, you're going to head to the most popular trailhead in the entire park, Bear Lake Trailhead. It's only a few miles from the visitor center, but it gets really busy, so it's best to park at the Park and Ride station and take the free shuttle bus to the actual trailhead. Once you get to the trailhead, there are perhaps 14 different hikes you can take, including a couple waterfalls, but we'd recommend a relatively short hike which hits the four most popular lakes nearby: Bear Lake, Nymph Lake, Dream Lake, and Emerald Lake. The total distance to cover all four is about a 4-mile round-trip hike. First up will be Nymph Lake, which is the first lake you'll hit on the longer hike out to Emerald Lake as your final destination. Nymph Lake is about a half-mile from the trailhead, and from Nymph Lake, it's another 0.6 of a mile hiking progressively uphill to your next stop, Dream Lake. But before you get there, there's a number of places for some great views out over the nearby mountains. Dream Lake is one of the most popular and picturesque places in the entire park. You'll have some great views to the east with Hallett Peak and Flat Top Mountain in the background. In between these peaks is actually the Tyndall Glacier, sometimes visible depending on the time of year.
This is called Dream Lake, and they have all these flights showing up here. I think they're taking a class.
From Dream Lake, you'll hike another 0.6 of a mile around the lake and further up into Tyndall Gorge to reach an elevation of 10,100 feet and Emerald Lake. Emerald Lake is your final destination on this part of the hike, and it's right up against those two mountains, Hallett Peak and Flat Top Mountain. On the opposite side of this lake is also a very large waterfall coming down from Tyndall Glacier. It's quite beautiful, but in the distance, and you're not really able to get there. Once you've had your fill of Emerald Lake, you'll turn around and hike back down the way you came, again with great views in all directions.
So we just came from Emerald Lake, and I think it's Dream Lake that is below us here. So Emerald Lake is your farthest lake down.
An interesting point to note about this hike, chipmunks are everywhere, and they're really friendly. I guess people feed them, which they really shouldn't do.
Little tiny chipmunks, and they're very friendly. And here's another one.
And squirrels too. After you hike back down to the original trailhead, you'll have an option to see one more lake, Bear Lake. It's an 0.8 of a mile paved loop trail around the lake, and there are interpretive signs along the way to enjoy. It's a short, easy hike, but a beautiful lake in its own right. Now, after you get all that hiking done, it's off on your leisurely drive through the bulk of the park. The route through the park is only about 66 miles long, or a 2-hour drive if you go straight through, but take your time and enjoy the sights along the way. There are many places to stop, to hike, or take in the view. We'll touch on just a few here. But first, a little about the park. The park is the third most visited national park in America, with almost 5 million visitors each year. It was established in 1915 by President Woodrow Wilson, and the Civilian Conservation Corps built the main road through the park in the 1930s. It's now called Trail Ridge Road, or Route 34. America's Continental Divide runs directly through the park, and the headwaters of the Colorado River also start within the park. The highest peaks exceed 14,000 feet, or 4,300 meters, and it's big, with more than 500,000 acres of government land in total. And there's also a bit of wildlife to see if you're lucky. So we're right here, all these elk. This is a big one. Now he's got his butt in our way. Eventually, you'll come to the Alpine Visitor Center about halfway through the park. You can grab some souvenirs or refreshments here, and there are also a few short hikes to do nearby. But bring a coat. It's at the upper elevation tundra area of the park, where there might still be snow even in July. Shortly after the Alpine Center, you'll come to Milner Pass. Milner Pass in the park designates America's Continental Divide. This means that all rainfall and water to one side of this pass flows to the Pacific Ocean, and to the other side it flows to the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. Pretty cool, huh? Finally, one other hike we recommend you do heading out the other side of the park is Coyote Valley. You'll hike along the very origins of the Colorado River. Plus, there are great views to take in along a short hike, and you'll likely see some elk up close and personal.
Here's breaking. We are, I would say, fairly close to these. So this is not on a Zoom, but if they charge me, I'm jumping underneath this table. No, Greg, don't do that. They come a little closer. So these guys are just right. Greg, come here for a second, please. Just, I'm a little nervous. That's about as close as I want to get to one of these.
Finally, you'll come to the west entrance to the park, in the Kawunichi Visitor Center and Grand Lake area. Grand Lake is a nice little town to explore overlooking the lake. We recommend you stop here for dinner, and there are a number of nice choices. We ate at the Sagebrush Barbecue place, which was great. And there's one more short hike we'd recommend if you have the time and energy, just off this lake, and it's called Adams Falls. It's a short 0.3-mile hike to some nice waterfalls. Then when you're all done, it's about a 2-hour drive back to the Denver area. Well, we hope you enjoyed our video of the Rocky Mountain National Park. We'll definitely be coming back here again soon. There's so much to see. Until next time, see you later.